Hello everybody! I'd like to welcome you to the very first episode of The Plastic General. We are a bi-weekly YouTube video show that focuses completely on plastic, 1/32 scale, World War II toy soldiers, vehicles, and everything else in the hobby. So, let's get started. First off, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Christian Aldo, and I am the host and the guy who secretly is called the Plastic General. You know, I've been obsessed with plastic World War II toy soldiers for the last 35 years, and I've been collecting them obsessively. I'm obsessed, just like you're probably obsessed. And there's so much to talk about, so I'm so excited. This is something I've always wanted to do. So, let's get started with the very first set. So the very first set I'm going to review is by one of my favorite companies called Mars. Mars has been extremely prolific in the last 4 years. They've released, I think, 13 or 14 World War II sets, and this is their very latest set. And it's one of my dream sets. I've always wanted someone to come out with this in 132. They are called the Night Hunters, or in German, the Night Jaggers or Night Jagers, or whatever they would say in German. Basically, they were an elite group of German soldiers utilizing experimental weapons in the last-ditch attempt to defend Berlin from the Soviets. So let's get into it. So this is an 8-pose set, and the first 4 poses are all Night Jaggers. That's elite German soldiers with experimental weapons. And this first figure is he's standing sharpshooting an STG-44 assault rifle, and on the top you can see that's an infrared light so that they could go hunting Soviets at night. And on his back is a battery pack to keep the infrared scope going. That's the first pose. The second pose is a Night Jagger sniper sitting on the ground, again with the STG-44, with the vampire infrared light and a backpack. That's pose number 2. Pose number 3 is another Night Jagger, and he's moving through the city streets cautiously with his STG-44, with night vision, and his backpack. Great pose. Pose number 4 is a soldier squatting down, firing an experimental rocket launcher. Now, this launcher would send out, I think, 6 rockets. It was designed to be an anti-aircraft rocket launcher, but I think it would only be effective to very low-flying aircraft, or if, let's say, you're firing at a building. But they made very few of them, but they were used in Berlin. Now, the second half of the set is comprised of 4 Volksgrenadiers. So they were also in the Battle of Berlin, but they were elite German soldiers, but they weren't using experimental weapons. So this is pose number 5, and he seems to be slightly leaning forward and firing an STG-44 assault rifle from mid-chest. Good pose, very useful. Pose number 5. A soldier running, holding a potato masher grenade and another assault rifle, STG-44. Love this pose, fantastic. Very useful. Pose number 7, another Volksgrenadier running through the streets of Berlin, firing a Gewehr rifle. Strapped to his back is a Panzerfaust, probably. And finally, the 8th pose would be a soldier sitting on the ground in waiting, getting ready to fire his Panzer Schreck anti-tank weapon and to blow up a T-34 or a Joseph Stalin II tank. Great pose. So as fantastic as the Mars set is, a guy like me is not going to be satisfied with just 8 poses, so I do something what I call, what the hobby calls a conversion. A conversion is a figure that's made by splicing and fusing two existing figures together to make a new set that has not been produced by the manufacturer. So this first one, I have a figure squatting, firing a infrared rifle, assault rifle, and I produced this figure by fusing the top half of this guy with the bottom half of this guy, creating this figure. Conversion. Much needed, very useful. So the second conversion I made is a Volksgrenadier running with an assault rifle, and I created him by fusing this figure's bottom half and this figure's top half, creating this figure. Conversion number 3. A guy squatting, holding assault rifle and throwing grenade. I created him by fusing the bottom half of the rocket launcher and the guy running with the assault rifle. Conversion number 4. Sitting on the ground, sniping, was created from the bottom half of this figure and the top half of this figure. So I'm creating quite a large army of people with night vision assault rifles. For my fourth conversion, I have a guy squatting, sharpshooting a rifle, and he was made from the upper half of this guy running, and of course, the rocket launcher squatting. Conversion number 5. Figure advancing forward with assault rifle and grenade, made from the top half of this figure running and the bottom half of this figure walking through the streets of Berlin. Conversion number 6, standing with rocket launcher. This figure is comprised of the lower half of this figure and the upper half of this figure. Conversion number 7. Running with infrared assault rifle, using the lower half of this figure and the upper half of this figure. And I even swapped his head out a little bit. I swapped his head out with a guy wearing a helmet to make him a little more different. And of course, when I'm done with the conversion, I spray it with a primer so it sort of lets everything sort of seal nicely together. It gives it a better, more cohesive look. And the very last feature of the show for today is I'm going to share a really cool tip with you collectors out there, or if you like playing with your toy soldiers like I do. I discovered this many years ago. Now, we've all heard of Fisher-Price, but do you remember those Fisher-Price buildings and village play sets? They also came out with the Sesame Street Village. Well, you can buy them or find them on eBay. They're not very expensive. They're hard plastic, which are great for 132 scale soldiers. And you know, you take some pliers and you break out some of the windows, and then you give them a light spray of different variants of gray primer or brown, and they work fantastic as play sets for urban warfare. That wraps up the very first episode of the Plastic General. Look for us again within a few days for episode number 2. I just want to do a shout out to our official sponsor, mydogtag.com. For your own custom military dog tags, you can have your name on there, you can put your favorite toy soldier company, whatever, mydogtag.com. So please, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for every new episode that we create. Hit the bell so that you're notified of our new episodes, and hit like so that we can keep bringing you exciting 132 scale plastic World War II content. The Plastic General.